So I'm Lynn Cairns from the College of Registered Nurses, and with me here is Laurie Shortridge. We'll be doing the song and dance for the next few minutes. We're going to be talking about something coming from a slightly different angle than what we've been hearing about today. We're talking about using a learning assessment or competency-based assessment for regulatory purposes. The College of Registered Nurses, British Columbia, is the regulatory body that all people who want to be registered nurses have to be registered by. So it's the entry point to being able to work as a registered nurse. And our mandate includes the first sentence I just wanted to highlight for you, is our CRNBC's mandate is to ensure that all individuals seeking entry to practice and maintaining registration are competent and ethical professionals. And that's where the competency-based assessment that we're doing fits in. As some background, we get approximately 1,200 internationally educated nurses, or IENs, applying for registration each year. In 2008, we had applicants from 48 different countries of education, and they had not only been educated in 48 countries, but some of them had worked in that country and then several other countries subsequent to that. So they were coming with a really wide range of knowledge and experience. When we get an application for registration, we look at a number of documents. The first thing we need to know is that they're fluent in English. We look at information they provide in their application. We look at a transcript. We look at reference, confirmation of employment, verification of registration in other jurisdictions. If all of that paper doesn't give us a good sense of what the person's knowledge, skills, and abilities are compared to what a BC-educated nurse possesses, which is the point at which we're supposed to be registering someone, we will refer them for what we call a substantially equivalent competency assessment, which takes place at Kwantlen. And Laurie's going to talk about that. Do you want the thing?
Sorry, those slides you can hardly see. But anyway, I'm just going to talk about them. So the IEN Assessment Center is located at Kwantlen University, and it is not prior learning. So that's one thing we want to make really clear. This is not a prior learning process. It is a competency-based assessment. So all the nurses that come to us are nurses that we are assessing whether they are eligible for registration. So the only nurses that we can actually have come to the center, they have to be referred by the CRNBC. So they are referred for a possibility of 5 assessments, five days of assessment, or 2 days of assessment is sort of the shortest that there is. So they either have a complete assessment, which looks at everything, or a general assessment. And what we find is the majority of the nurses that come have a general assessment. So it's a 2-day assessment process. We do use data triangulation. So what they go through is they have a 3-hour multiple choice exam plus a 3-hour short answer exam. So the exams are quite stiff. They go through an OSCE, which is like an elaborate case study with an assessor. We have live patients, a live standardized patient. The OSCE... that's what it's called, live standardized patient. So they follow a very tight script. And part of this is that we want to have a really fair process, that we assess everybody in a very fair way so nobody's assessment is any different as far as their opportunities to show us what they know. I think this is all very reassuring for us who use the health system. Oh, okay. It's objective, structured clinical evaluation. So again, it's quite a rigid process. It takes about 2.5 hours, and they basically are in the role of the registered nurse in Canada, and that's what they do. So they have a live patient, they have an assessor, and themselves. So that's half of a day. They do what they call triple jump, which is an interview process. It takes about an hour. Again, it's a situation where they have an opportunity to talk back and forth with an interviewer. So they have the hands-on process, which is the OSCE. They've got an interview process with a case study. They have what they call also clinical judgments, and these are 3-minute little scenarios that are thrown to them by the assessor that they have to respond to. So they have clinical judgments as well. So there's 5 different points that they have an opportunity to show us how they function as a nurse. And each one of these points, what we're hoping is that people shine differently in different areas. So we're hoping that it gives them every opportunity to show all of their knowledge and skills. Did I already cover this? So for the general then, as I said, there is... it's about 2 days in length, and it goes through the 5 different assessment points. And that about 60 to 70% of the nurses that come through do generals. The complete assessment is a lot longer. It's 5 days. It's 3 days of exams and then 2 days of face-to-face assessments. They go through about 3 different OSCEs and a lot of interviewing process. So it is a very stiff process, for sure. They're mentally exhausted at the end of this, as you can imagine. And then what the assessor's final responsibilities are, there is a report that's generated that's very long because it needs to, we try to make it as comprehensive as possible, so we give the CRNBC enough material that they can make good decisions, because that's all we're doing is we're reporting on the results. We send the report to the CRNBC, and then they take it from there, and decisions are made as to sort of what entry point this nurse will be taking to come into our healthcare system. So I'm going to let Lynn finish up on that.
Sure. So just to clarify, the live patient, you don't have to worry if you go into the hospital or your mom goes into the hospital that they're going to be recruited to act as a as a patient for this process. It's actually a person who's paid to act as a patient, and then the nurse is interacting with them. So it's they have a script, and they have sort of certain parameters that they're working within. So as Lori says, it's the same process that people are going through. It's consistent in how it works. And I've got 1 minute left. Sorry. That's okay. I've got 1 slide left, too. So at the end, we get this very extensive report that Kwantlen produces, and we look at that information from that. We look at the transcript. We look at their work experience and any other information that we have, and we try to conceptualize what they're going to need to do to be able to become registered in British Columbia and be successful as nurses. So there's a number of different things. They may need to. There may be some educational needs that are coming up as a result of the assessment process that they've gone through. They may be able to move ahead with working under a provisional licensure and starting to write the exam and work under supervised practice for a period of time. There's a variety of different outcomes. And what's really beautiful about this process is that it's very individualized. People are not asked to do more education than they need to do, and we're not also missing knowledge gaps that we might not have been able to identify before. So we've been really pleased with how much this has enhanced our ability to accurately assess internationally educated nurses.